I chose
JP too because I wanted the best.
because I wanted the best.
I wanted to push
Push myself harder.
Challenge myself.
to study the greatest mind.
of Western civilization.
To soar to new heights.
Break through barriers.
Test the limits of what I thought I could do.
Of what others
What
thought I could
others
do.
thought I could
To
do.
truly live my faith. Not just for myself.
But for Belize.
To be everything I was made to be.
Because we're made for greatness.
Because you are made for greatness.
Good morning. Welcome to the Benque Viejo Public Library. This morning, we have a special invited guest, Mr. Justin Vera, that will be sharing some information concerning the Battle of St. George's Key. Since we are in the month of September, where we celebrate the Battle of St. George's Key, we do hope that you sit, relax, and enjoy this valuable information that Mr. Vera will be sharing with us this morning at the Benque Viejo Public Library. Thank you.
Hello, so my name is Justin Vera. I'm going to give you some information on the 10th of September. To start off, I'd like to say some quick facts. The first is military engagement was actually from the 3rd to the 10th of September 1798. The second quick fact is that there were previous attempts to expel the Baymen from Belize, at least 6 recorded times. The third, because of the Baymen's victory, today Belize is the only English-speaking country in Central America. The fourth fact is that on the 100th anniversary, the government of Belize declared September 10th a national holiday. In 1898, 100 years after the battle, the colonial secretary declared September 9th and 10th public holidays in remembrance of this historic event. Today, only one day is given as a public holiday. An editorial appearing in the Colonial Guardian newspaper of 1898 mentioned in part that the subject of the celebration of the Battle of St. George's Key is now occupying the public mind, that such an event ought to be celebrated by the inhabitants of British Honduras with some pomp and circumstance goes without saying. For not only is it by far the greatest and most glorious event in the annals of this portion of Central America, but it secured forever the Baymen and their descendants and successors civil and religious liberty and good government. That we have not suffered during the last 100 years what all Latin America for long suffered is due to the heroism of the victors of the Battle of St. George's Key on the 10th of September 1798, whose glorious deed of daring do may the inhabitants of British Honduras ever keep in grateful remembrance. On the 6th April 1898, a public meeting was held at Riverside Hall on North Front Street in Belize City to consider the celebration and commemoration of the centenary of the battle. Addresses were delivered by Henry Charles Usher, J.P., Dr. Charles R. Iles, R.H. Logan, Sidney Gower Woods, and Carl Metzgen. Some of the resolutions made were that A, the event be celebrated, commemorated, and duly observed each year after this. B, that 10th September be declared a public holiday. C, a committee of 40 members be appointed with power to add to their number for the purpose of carrying out the objects of the resolutions. Since 1898, the anniversary of the battle has been commemorated every year in the 10th September with various levels of festivities. One sad incident marred the celebrations in 1931 when the worst disaster to affect the country in the form of a hurricane devastated Belize on 10th September and left 2,000 persons missing or dead. There are several names that could be mentioned as playing significant roles in the Battle of St. George's Key and its aftermath, but there is one we would like to especially honor. He is remembered as not as one who fought in the battle, having been born 35 years later, but one who succeeded in preserving for us a significant yearly celebration of the battle. Simon Lamb, born in 1833 and died in 1913, was described as a man of vision who succeeded in allowing generations of Belizeans to recognize the 10th of September and celebrate accordingly every year. Father Bernard Abeling wrote the song, "It was the 10th day of September, the 98th Anno Domini." There have been many musical versions of the song, but the words have remained the same. Father Abeling was the brother of Dr. Carl Huschner's wife, Kate Abeling. Father Abeling was a Jesuit priest in Belize in the early 1900s. In 1954, in celebration of the 156th anniversary of the Battle of St. George's Key, the town board offered prizes for the best patriotic poem concerning the battle. John M. Searle was 17 years old and a student at the Technical High School and submitted this poem, which came in first place. The title of the poem is Matthew the Bayman by John M. Searle. Matthew was a bayman, living in a shack. His hair was white and curly. His eyes were shining black. Everybody knew him, this Negro old and gray, for he went about his business in his own quiet way. Old Matthew loved the children and thought his friends were few. Everyone that knew him dearly loved him too. All the children loved him, for he told them stories bold of great black bearded pirates and ships of old. But the greatest story ever was the one he told me, of the Bayman's glorious action at the Battle of the Key. Word was sent to Matthew that the Spaniards would attack, so all took arms together, whether white or brown or black. The Spaniards were attacking. They were coming o'er the reef, 30 stately galleons under a Spanish chief. They came with steadfast orders to take our land so dear, but men came from the borders, on fighting bent. 'Twas clear the enemy was falling, our wounded there were few. Ere 2 short hours of fighting, the enemy hove to. They came to drive us out that 10th day of September, but our baymen earned the name. In the battle we remember. This tale old Matthew told, the one I thought so grand. It tells how well the baymen fought to save this land. All the baymen in that fight were turned away quite free, and that is how this freedom is passed to you and me. There are no longer slavemen crossing o'er the sea, and all the slaves that did exist are roaming now quite free. Alas, old Matthew's dead, but on the day he died, many folk were sad, and many children cried, and in yon grave quite shallow, where now his body lies, his eyes no longer shining, face towards the skies. His soul no longer lingers around the grassy sod, it's roaming there in heaven with our Almighty God. Happy St. George's Key Day.